Hey there. Hey, ducklings. Welcome back. Come on in. Let's chat. I think that we are going to talk about something pretty interesting today. It feels like a flavor of things that we've talked about before, but this is really specifically around asking for help as it relates to the work that you have been asked to do. So we're glad that you're here. Workunk, how are you? How's your day been?
It's just one of those days, just trying to get through it and make sure that I don't piss off enough people with it.
So, it sounds like maybe you need to ask for help. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Well,
Um,
luckily, I know enough people that I can go to and I can ask for help.
yeah. Well, I think that's a great trait to realize. And I think if anything, it's a reminder that it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter if you're a manager, it doesn't matter if you're a director, it doesn't matter if you're president of all the things or whatever. I mean, everybody will get to a point either in their day or their week or their role that the need to ask for help is really just kind of a norm. I think sometimes when we think about, um, people who are at really like high leadership positions, that they, you know, should be the experts in all the things, but the little unknown secret is that the reason why they have teams around them and different roles around them is because they don't know how to do all of the things. They know how to manage really smart people who know how to do all the things. So usually their teams are the ones that they're asking for help from in different ways every single day. So that
I
being
mean,
said,
just think about it. I mean, the president of the United States has a whole team of people working around him.
yeah. And all they're doing is helping him, right?
Exactly.
Well, you don't say it that way, but that's their job. Their job is to help him. So yeah, so let's get into it for a little bit. I mean, I know that you might be at a point right now and your job where you've been doing it for a few weeks or a few months, regardless of, doesn't matter what type of career you might. Maybe you're in the military, or maybe you're in retail, or maybe you're in an office. But you're pretty psyched about being there. I don't know if kids say that anymore. Does anybody say psyched? That might be it might be a Gen X thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
you know, um, but but the point is that maybe you've been there for a while and you're pretty good at doing the day-to-day stuff, and all of a sudden you're hit with hey, can you go do X, Y, and Z? And it's completely new and something that's totally out of your comfort zone, and you pause for a minute and you're just like, oh crap, I don't know how to do that, but I don't want to say that I don't know how to do that because I don't want to look like I am dumb or like I'm faking it or whatever. I think, first of all, let's just pause for a second, right? I think I've had that experience. Work on,
I for sure have had it a million times. Happens at least once a week.
yeah, where it's just like, I don't know what you just asked me to do, but let me just take a moment. Um, so sorry, I think where I was going to go with this was basically, first thing, take a breath. Take a breath, because you know what? If you knew everything, then you know what? Then maybe you'd have a different job. So the important thing is to make sure that one, you understood the directions,
Yeah.
the ask of you. Yeah. So,
Super important. Get the
yeah.
make sure that that's clear and settle. If that means you're repeating it back, 100%, you need to make sure you get that done.
Yeah. I also I like to do this in practice, but I also like to tell folks that if you need to write it down back and send it as an email, because here's what happens a lot. It's You'll get some kind of verbal direction, and then you think that you've heard it one way or you think it's going a different way, and then you start doing what you think is the right thing just to find out like you completely missed it or that they intended it a different way. So what I've learned is that if somebody picked up the phone or if somebody gave me a verbal like um you know ask, I will write it back down and just be like, hey, just want to make sure that I understood what you were asking me to do. Is that correct before I get too
Yeah.
far? I think that's a pretty good like, insider. Is that what they say? Inside baseball? So,
I will say that that is a great tactic. I couple it with this tactic. So once you get in that verbal and you start working on the assignment, I always like to do a check in, even like a couple days after. Let's say
yeah,
the deadline's in 2 weeks, a couple days after, and you go, "Hey, am I heading in the right direction? Is this exactly what you were looking for?" Because
yeah.
sometimes what you're envisioning in your head and what they're envisioning in their head are two different things, and you want to make sure you get that cleared up. So I love that advice that you give, and I just want to make sure that we tag that together because you go, I think they work perfectly well.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that because I think one of the things that we also have a tendency to really kind of get anxious and spun up about is, whoa, I've never been asked to do something like this before. I don't even know the first place to start. So let's bring it back to kind of what we started off with. Ask for help. Like, once you get
Mhm.
a clear direction in terms of where you're going and you have an idea of what the next step is, it's okay to find a buddy or a peer to see if one, they've done something similar, and two, if there's a way that they can either point you in a direction so that you can figure out the next step, or even better, I know in some spaces, the um, we like to say that we like to recycle some things. So it's like, why reinvent the wheel if somebody's got a template or got a guide sheet or something helpful that they've started? It might not be apples to apples in terms of kind of what you've been asked to do, but it might be a good starting point. So in that way, it's okay to ask for that kind of help, not only for clarification, but also pointers to go in the for the next step. But then three, also, hey, if somebody's got something that would be helpful as a starting point for you so that you don't have to reinvent something, that's amazing too. That puts you ahead of the game.
I like to couple that even before you get to that point, right? When somebody asks you to do something, you don't know how to do that particular task, or you don't know the answer to that question, just be honest. It's perfectly
Yeah.
okay to say, I don't know that. But now you got to follow it up with the follow up. And you're going to go, well, I'm going to get you an answer.
Yeah.
And you go, I'm going to follow. And that follow up is probably the most important thing. And it shows a lot about your character and what you're trying to convey. That you may not know how to get to from A to Z, but you're going to figure it out and you're going to come back and you're going to follow up with this person. You're going to go, I didn't give you the answer the first time, but this is what I found out. And I want to really stress that the follow up is the most important part of that entire process. You
Yeah.
know, when you're asking for help for the first time, I know that's perfectly okay. Nothing wrong with asking for help. Just be careful asking multiple times for the same subject. It may give the wrong impression that you're trying of what you're trying to convey. And I understand there's some processes and some things that are very difficult. You're not going to get it the first time around, and that's okay. But maybe asking someone else on your team, or maybe doing a little bit more research before you come back with a different set of questions than you came the first time.
That's really great. I think that is, that's spot on. And, as someone, as both of us, as people who have managed people and teams and projects, I think what certainly something that I value is really kind of the individual or the employee that really is intentional in terms of asking for help and how they follow up, right? Asking for direction, asking for guidance, and as somebody who's kind of led certain environments, what it says to me is that one, they want to do a good job, they want to get it right. to that they're not afraid to kind of reach out, even if they think that it might be bad timing or inconvenience. I think there's certainly ways to really kind of approach that, but it is indicative to me that it is someone who is willing to really kind of seek answers. They're willing to learn, and then they're also willing to receive feedback. And I think at the end of the day, you know, operating in certain spaces, really kind of understanding how each of us have a role in making sure that we're not wasting time and we're not wasting effort or resources, yours as well, right? Now, not just the companies or not just the organization or mine, but you as the individual. It's just like, hey, if you go down a path and you don't ask for help and you're kind of guessing, and then you find out that it isn't the right way, that or what it's not what is supposed to be delivered, now you've wasted your own time. That's time of your life you'll never get back. So that, I think, is really, it's really just something to keep in mind as as you kind of are presented with situations like these.
Yeah, I love that terminology you're using about wasting the resources, because it perfectly aligns to my next 2 points that I want to make, right? Because there's different versions of wasting resources and wasting time, right? One is when someone gives you the answer, when you go ask for help, make sure you take notes. And best practice is to repeat it back to them to make sure that you heard it correctly. Because we can all play a game of telephone, and you think you said one thing, and I heard a different thing, and next thing you know, the inputs and the outputs don't look the same. So you want to make sure you're not wasting people's time there, that you're being very considerate of them. And then the second point in being considerate and not wasting more resources is trying not to go to the same person if for every single question.
Yeah.
You may burn them out. They may, you got to remember they have a day job as well. Their day job is not always to assist you. They may take time out of their day job to help you, and that's perfectly okay. But you want to make sure that you have a well-rounded group of people that you can ask for assistance from.
Yeah. I love that, because as someone who has been in a position where you are kind of a go-to, while happy to help, that's a great reminder that it's just being considerate and mindful of their time, and I think sometimes people who want to help, um, it seeps out in other ways, that when they're stressed out or whatever, but they're trying to be really kind, and they're really trying to make themselves available. So I think that that's a really great point in terms of, like, yeah, like, spread the love, spread the questions. There's plenty of
Yeah.
people who want to help. So maybe it's not just Jose. So Jose, I guess you might have been sick of
No,
me asking you all the questions. So
no, 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 never, never, never that. Um, but I will say this: as a supervisor and as a manager, I've been in this situation where people become afraid to ask questions
yeah,
because you go, "Oh, I've asked too many questions. I've kind of worn out my welcome. I don't want to be a burden." No, 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 no. I rather you ask the questions than you go and waste time or you do something wrong. That's going to be a bigger burden to lift because I may not be able to fix what comes out wrong
yeah,
afterwards, right? And now someone could be upset. A customer could be, unhappy with the service that's provided because we didn't ask the question initially. Let's get it right. So it doesn't matter if we got to go through one iteration, multiple iterations of it, and that's fine. We'll try different ways to make sure that we teach the same lesson, and it's okay. And that's nothing wrong with that. So, well, Arlene, I think we made it kind of far. I think, there's a lot of information we thrown at people.
yeah.
Um, let's start kind of wrapping it up, making sure. So you duckling, take a breath, take a quack. You've had a moment. All right, let's go through it. So our wrap up is be honest about what you don't know. It's okay. Explain that you'll follow up, and then you're going to get that person that answer. But make sure you follow up. That is actually probably the most critical part of that. Don't be afraid to ask for help. A supervisor would rather you get it right than you mess up something, and then they have to come spending more money fixing it. That's really, really, that's very key in here. All right. Be considerate. Make sure that you're not asking the same person. As Arlene said, spread the wealth of questions. Nothing wrong with that. All right. Be open to learning and taking good notes so that you don't have to ask the same questions again. You can refer back to your notes and go, oh, yes, we covered this last week when I asked you this previous question. Okay. And if time allows, and that's a big if, because time isn't always on your side here, try to figure out the answer on your own before you go ask for help and review it with somebody. Make sure, if you're not sure, learn it or try to research it and then review it with someone you trust. We're going to go, hey, have I figured this out? Is this the right way to do it? Or maybe even you might have figured out another way to do it, and that's perfectly okay. I'm more than happy to have people that are geniuses and try to figure out different ways to do the same thing.
Yeah, that is a perfect segue into me just and some of my closing thoughts. Number one, you're not supposed to be the smartest person in the room, right? I mean, so there are other geniuses. There are other people in the room who are geniuses at other things. So be mindful of the fact that, you know what, you might have a different kind of genius, but in this particular instance, whatever assignment that you got that you don't know how to do, there's someone out there who is happy to kind of help and point you in the right direction. So remember that. The other thing about asking for help is that it just shows that you're engaged, that you're intentional, and that you're willing to learn. So we, every day of our lives until we're not here anymore, it's an exercise of learning new things. So asking for help is just another way of doing that. So, and then I think the other thing that I would say is remember that, you know what, it's by doing things over time that expertise and wisdom is accumulated. So you might not be an expert or experienced in, this one thing, but tomorrow you'll be experienced in it because you would have already done it. So just one day, every single day builds up that body of experience and expertise until hey, you're the go-to person that has to finally figure out a way to politely decline and point in another direction to other people who can help. So
Love that.
that being said,
Hmm.
um, thank you. Go live your life, and we will see you at the next one. So, hey, work mom, and
Work on.
we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.